The movie begins by showing the blood-soaked condition of Luke's house. There are two bodies lying on the floor: Billy, Luke's first child, and Karen, Luke's wife. In addition, the cries of a baby named Charlotte, Luke's second child, can be heard from inside a room. The scene shifts to Aaron receiving a message from Jerry, Luke's parent. Jerry asks Aaron to come to Luke's funeral. In front of Aaron, there is also a newspaper that writes about the suicide committed by Luke after he is suspected of murdering his wife and first child. On the way to his birthplace, Kiwara, the weather forecast is heard on the radio, where there are no signs of rain, causing nearly 70% of the area to experience drought. It has been 324 days since the last rain. Aaron Falk has not returned to Kiwara for more than 20 years, and this time he comes to attend the funeral of his childhood friend, that is Luke. At the local church, Luke's family and close friends are praying for the unexpected incident. There, Aaron's memories as a teenager with Luke, Ellie, and Gretchen playing in the river reappear. After the prayer at the church is over, Aaron meets Gretchen, his childhood friend, who was also Luke's ex-girlfriend. After chatting and asking each other's news, they head to the hall reserved by Barb and Jerry. Barb thanks everyone for coming and asks the townspeople to remember Luke as a friend and a figure who loved his family. Finally, someone named Grant interrupts Barb's speech and says that Luke loved his family until he slaughtered them. Barb couldn't hold back her tears and asked Grant to be quiet. Indeed, in this case, the police find it difficult to prove who the real perpetrator is, so much so that the townspeople conclude that Luke is the one who killed his own family. After that, Aaron visits Luke's parents' house. Barb says that Luke did not commit the murders of his wife and child like the rumors that are circulating. She suspects that Luke and his family were killed by someone, perhaps because he was in debt and unable to pay it off. Understandably, at that time there was a drought crisis, crop failure, and Luke might have needed money to support his family. Therefore, Barb and Jerry ask for Aaron's help to investigate the case. Just when Aaron is about to leave, Aaron decides to help Barb and Jerry investigate the deaths of Luke and his family. He stays at one of the hotels in town. At the hotel, he meets Grant and Uncle Mal, Ellie's father. They treat Aaron badly because Aaron is suspected of being the suspect in Ellie's death 20 years ago, who was a close friend of Aaron and also romantically involved with him. They want Aaron to never set foot in Kiwara again. The next day, Aaron's investigation begins. He called his office to inform them that he would need at least a day to help Luke's parents. He went to a warehouse to meet Greg Rocco, a local sergeant there. With Greg's help, they finally went to Luke's house to start the investigation. Greg said that he found Karen's body lying in front of the door, while Billy was lying in his room, and Charlotte was crying loudly in her crib due to dehydration. After touring Luke's house, Aaron went to the school where Karen worked. He observed Karen's workspace and asked the principal where Karen worked, named Scott. Did Karen seem to be in trouble recently? Scott said that he had talked with Karen, and Karen said that she was angry with her husband because of money issues. There, Aaron met Gretchen. Gretchen said that Karen was a good person. After that, Gretchen invited Aaron to have dinner together later. Aaron's memory goes back to when he went with Ellie to Ellie's hideout when she wanted to get away from everything. Ellie asked Aaron for help putting on a bracelet, but it fell off. However, Aaron managed to pick it up, and Ellie said that the bracelet belonged to her mother. The scene shifts to Aaron visiting Greg at his office to ask what Greg was looking for in the warehouse that morning when Aaron arrived. Greg said that the bullets he found did not match the bullets Luke had. The bullets used in the 3 shots were blue Remingtons, while Luke only had bright red Winchester bullets. After that, they went to the location where Luke committed suicide. Sergeant Greg said that Jamie Sullivan was with Luke on the day he died, and Jamie was shooting rabbits. Aaron and Greg then went to Jamie's house. He lives with his grandmother. Aaron said he wanted to see the weapons Jamie had. Jamie had no problem and handed over his rifle for Aaron to inspect. Jamie said that he usually used the rifle to hunt rabbits and kangaroos. On the day Luke committed suicide, Jamie asked Luke to come help him shoot rabbits. He also prepared the bullets, but wasn't sure what kind they were. Maybe Winchester or Remington as long as they're cheap. Aaron asked how Luke was that day, and Jamie replied that Luke was fine and just like usual. Luke went home around 4:15, while he stayed at home and had tea with his grandmother. Greg asked Jamie if Luke said anything about his family, and Jamie replied that Luke said that damn woman always talked about something. After shooting rabbits, then Luke went home. The scene shifts when Aaron accidentally meets Dr. Lee in front of the health clinic where his father used to work. Aaron asked if there were any signs of violence by Luke towards his wife. However, Dr. Lee refused to answer because it would violate his professional ethics. That night, Aaron met again with Gretchen for dinner together. There, Aaron asked if she was sure that Luke was the perpetrator of the murder. Gretchen was unsure about the widespread reporting. Luke was a good person, and she knew Luke very well more than anyone because they did have a special relationship before Luke got married. Aaron also asked Gretchen what she thought about Ellie's death 20 years ago. According to Gretchen, Ellie committed suicide because she couldn't handle the problems with her father. She hated her father. However, because at that time, there was a letter from Aaron in Ellie's pants pocket. People easily accused him of being Ellie's killer. Aaron's memory of Ellie reappeared. He remembered the past when he gave Ellie a letter to meet him at the river. But Ellie never came, and he instead received news that Ellie had committed suicide. The scene shifts to when Aaron visits Barb at her home. He wants to convey that he has found no suspicion related to the financial troubles experienced by Luke. However, there Barb is seen tidying up the toys of her deceased grandson Billy, and briefly cries. There, Barb also finds a library book that Karen had not returned. Aaron offers to return the book, and after that, he leaves. Aaron heads to the library to return the book borrowed by Karen. Before returning the book, he sees a piece of paper with Grant written on the back. Aaron's suspicion towards Grant begins to arise. He invites Greg to meet Grant and conduct an interrogation. Aaron bombards Grant with numerous questions. Aaron asks if it's true that Grant works at his uncle's farm and plans to sell it after his uncle's death. Is it true he's trying to buy the farmland next to Jamie Sullivan's? This becomes reasonable because Luke's adjacent land will soon be sold, and 3 adjoining lands would certainly attract many investors. However, Grant denies all of Aaron's suspicions directed at him. This raises the suspicion that Grant might be the perpetrator. After interrogating Grant, Aaron and Greg dissect the CCTV footage of the school where Karen taught. The footage is from 2 hours before Karen's death. Karen appears to be in good condition, and not as if she has any problems. That night, Aaron tries to dissect the CCTV footage from a street camera right in front of Dr. Lee's clinic. To his surprise, at the time Luke and his family were killed, Jamie is seen driving his car on the road, which differs from his previous statement that he was having tea at home with his grandmother. Suspecting something odd, Aaron heads to the bar where the townspeople usually gather. Upon arrival, Aaron sees Grant and Jamie fighting. Aaron immediately separates them. Grant is upset because Jamie has spread the news that he will buy the land Jamie owns. As a result, Grant feels this is why he is suspected of killing Luke and his family. There, Aaron asserts to Grant that if he is unhappy because he was interrogated, please explain why Karen wrote his name on a piece of paper a week before she died. There, Grant still denies the accusation. After that, Aaron takes Jamie to Dr. Lee's clinic for medical treatment. After stitching up Jamie's wound, Aaron asks Dr. Lee if he knows Jamie's whereabouts at the time of the murder. Jamie lied during the interrogation. The CCTV footage shows he was not at home as he previously stated. Dr. Lee finally explains that Jamie was with him at that time. Jamie might have lied because he panicked during the interrogation. Jamie and he were together drinking, and then slept together. Hearing this, Aaron scolds Jamie that his lies have disrupted the investigation. Who cares that he is gay and sleeps with whom? He should have been honest from the beginning so that no suspicion would arise against him. The next day, Aaron visits Gretchen at her home. On the table, there is a stack of grant application files for the school where Karen taught. Karen had previously managed those grant files. Next, Aaron and Gretchen chat and discuss their teenage memories. They reopen old photos of their youth with Ellie and Luke. Accidentally there, Aaron sees a photo of Luke holding a baby, which is Gretchen's son, named Lockie. Aaron asks if that's Luke's child. Gretchen explains that it's not Luke's child, but her child with a man from a one-night stand. Luke is not the father of the child. He just came occasionally and played with Lockie. However, Aaron didn't just take it at face value. Aaron suspected that Gretchen might have committed the murders because she couldn't accept that Luke had chosen Karen over her. Hearing what Aaron said, Gretchen seemed incredulous and threw him out. The next morning, very early, Aaron returned to Gretchen's house. There, Gretchen was still asleep with her child. Aaron entered and took the grant application files that Karen had previously managed. He collected all the files and began to dissect them. After looking at the files, Aaron realized something and immediately went to Greg's house. He explained to Greg that the writing Karen had on a piece of paper a week before she died was not a name, but an educational grant. In the grant files, Karen had found an irregularity. She questioned where the $70,000 in educational grant money had gone. She discussed this irregularity with her husband, and Luke contacted Aaron for help. Here we can see that it's very likely that Scott, the principal of the school where Karen worked, knew about this and was worried Karen would report him. So, to avoid being reported for corruption, he chose to kill Luke and his family. To confirm this suspicion, Greg called the grant agency, and they reported that they had sent the grant 2 months ago. After that, they rushed to the school. Scott, who had just arrived, was informed by his assistant that the grant agency had just contacted him. Realizing something, Scott immediately fled after seeing Greg's police car heading to his school. He ran towards the forest behind the school. Greg and Aaron chased after him. Greg found evidence that the bullets Scott owned matched the bullets used in the murder of Luke and his family at the school warehouse. After that, they chased Scott into the forest, and it turned out that Scott immediately confessed his wrongdoing and threatened to set himself and the entire parched forest on fire. From Scott's words, it was known that he needed money to pay debts. He had no other way but to steal the grant. Scott, who had smeared his body with gasoline, threw a lighter at him. Aaron and Greg immediately ran and held him to put out the fire. If the fire spread, the entire forest would burn. Scott also described how he killed Luke and his family. They both fainted and woke up in the hospital a few days later. After waking up, Aaron met with Barb. There, Barb thanked Aaron for revealing the true murderer of Luke and his family. Outside, Aaron also met with Gretchen. There, Aaron apologized for accusing Gretchen, and then he left. Aaron went to the large rock in the forest where he and Ellie used to spend time together. Unexpectedly, there he found Ellie's bag from 20 years ago and opened it. He read Ellie's diary, and indeed, Ellie did not have a good relationship with her father. It was also revealed that Ellie's father himself had killed her, and after that, the movie ends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.